What's going on? My name is j-statik and this is Static Sessions. This is one of my favorite episodes. It's going to be one of my favorite episodes because it's what I know how to do best. It's pretty much what I've been known in the industry for, the South Asian industry. Making kick and bass pop like no tomorrow. I have no idea how I figured out how to do this because I never really used to mix kick and bass that loud. As I'm hanging around with other hip hop guys or guys who are getting into it, they always used to say, you know, you got to make your stuff sound a little bit louder. The kicks aren't hitting properly, or this isn't hitting properly. So I went through as many tutorials and things that I possibly could. And I came across a couple of key points that stuck out for me personally. And I took it and I've used it ever since. What we're going to do, we're going to switch over into Ableton. I'm going to play a little loop of something I just quickly put together. It's just kick and bass. I didn't want to put any hi-hats or nothing in because I want you guys to hear what's actually happening with these. So take a listen. So I'm not sure if you guys can hear it at home, but through my system, I have a sub and I got two 8-inch monitors. As I'm listening to it, I can hear, and I'm sure as you guys can tell while you're looking at the kick and you're looking at the bass, there's a lot of interference between the beginning of the kick, or sorry, the end of the kick and the beginning of that bass. There's like this weird phasing that's happening in between that. And I don't actually like it at all. It makes it sound like it's way louder when the 808's hitting when it shouldn't be. It should be nice and smooth. The kick should be the attack of the 808. That's what I'm aiming for. What I'm going to do is do a couple things. If it works, great. If not, keep adding to it and see what goes on. I want the bass to be the carrying part to this. So what I'm going to try to do is affect the bass as much as I can. Sorry, affect the kick as much as I can. If you look at the EQ right now, you can see that there's a lot of stuff in the low end. So I'm going to be playing with that, trying to make it happen. So right away, because I've gotten rid of everything that's about 43 hertz and below, all this rumble and garbage, now the kick sounds a little bit tighter and it pops out from the bass. It doesn't get hidden and trying to rumble at the same time. Something I don't like is this kick length right here. I think it should be a little bit shorter. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly get rid of this and reprogram the kicks. Now there's a little click that you're hearing at the end of every time the bass hits. That is a simple just like fade out that's needed because right now every time the end of the 808 hits, it's interfering with the beginning of the next 808. So I'm going to quickly go in, do some fades out of that one and see where this goes, if we can make it sit a little bit harder. That sounds much better. Now, I still want my kick to pop out a little bit more. I think we can make it kind of hit a little bit harder than that. I dropped this on the wrong channel. Drop it on here. You'll notice that it completely disappeared. Put the threshold at the right point. You'll hear that the kick kind of pops out a lot more. So that sounds better to me. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add a little bit of UAD, Little Labs VOG or VOG or whatever the hell it's called. This thing does wonders, like supreme wonders. I didn't have to do anything and this thing just works. This is the best thing about this plugin. 90% of the time you don't even have to move any of the knobs and it just literally brings out that low end out of your 808s. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down this gain a little bit. Just make sure we're not clipping nothing. do another little approach. I think this might work a little bit better. That to me sounds way better. I got a nice tight kick on top of a nice 808, and I know I can make this eat up most of my low end and sound fat as possible. This is it. This is pretty much the main thing that I do to make my stuff sound a lot bigger, a lot thicker, and just loud as anything on that low end. There's other little tips and tricks too. I'm not going to go through them at this point, but I'll explain them to you guys. Sometimes you have a kick and a bass from another artist who doesn't want you to manipulate the kick at all. So if that's the case, then what you got to do is either do some side chaining. So you got to affect that bass a little bit, not too much, but enough that it ducks it a little bit so it doesn't interfere with the bass. The other thing you guys can do is set up an EQ and automate it, like I was explaining before about automating little sweeps. In this point, what you would do is you would find the points that are interfering with the kick and the bass where it kind of peaks and rumbles a little bit. You would take that, so every time that the kick hits, you would automate the bass and those little 2 nodes or 3 nodes or whatever you have, so they decrease at the same time when that kick hits and comes back up. That way you got a full hit of a kick, your bass is still hitting, and anything that's being disappeared is being filled in by that kick. In my head that makes sense, and I think it works, and it has worked for me in the past. So those are my 3 methods of trying to make kick and bass pop out as much as possible. Very simple, nothing major, and once you start blending it into the track, it'll sound perfect. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Kick and bass is something I love talking about. So if you guys have any more questions or anything, please let me know. I can definitely talk more on those. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that little bell for future notifications.